This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 600, recorded on Wednesday, January 4th, 2017. It's the 2017 Prediction Show. Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and tonight on TWIS, we are going to fill your heads with an interview about predicting the future, predictions for the future, and how we did on our predictions from last year. But first,
disclaimer. The future has yet to be written, and everybody's got a pen or computer or mobile type device. Even if you don't have any of those devices, the future is still going to include you. And while what you want from the future and what you will same, the better you are at predicting the future, the more likely you will get what you expect. And when you expect what's coming, you can prepare for it. And being prepared for the future is the best way to prevent being stuck in the past. And being stuck in the past is where most people who invented time machines probably are right now. Speaking of being stuck in the past, this disclaimer has gone on long enough. This Week in Science 2017 Prediction Show coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science.
and a very, very good science to you, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We are back once again to talk about all the science that we know, love, and enjoy from week to week. But instead of doing the usual science news breakdown that we do, this week is our annual prediction show. And we're bringing you lots of prognosticating, tons of prognostication, actually. And we have an interview, and we have interviews from, not interviews, we have an interview, and we have predictions from last year, and we have predictions for the coming year. It's going to be an exciting show. Justin, you got anything special?
Well, technically, the predictions we're going to make are for this year, not for next year.
Because I guess you're right. It is already 2017. Okay, catch me on that error.
No, my predictions are for 2018. Did I do it wrong?
I think we might be getting ahead of ourselves.
Just a little bit. Okay, that's all. That's what we have. That's what we have for you. So let's start the show. I would love to introduce our wonderful guest tonight, Amy Webb. She's a futurist and author of The Signals Are Talking: Why Today's Fringe is Tomorrow's Mainstream. She's the founder of Future Today Institute, and she is also an adjunct professor at NYU's Stern School of Business. So while we have not yet had the chance to predict anything about 2017, maybe she can give us some pointers and tips, this handy-dandy guide that she's written. Amy, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Prediction in my neck of the woods is kind of like a dirty word. Futurists who do this professionally, there is no prognosticating or looking into a crystal ball. We use data and evidence and modeling, and we try to understand trends, because for us, trends are signposts for what's to come, but we would define trends differently than probably a lot of your listeners would. For us, a trend is a sort of fundamental shift in human behavior, and it represents a different or new way that we are using technology. And usually, trends never materialize overnight. They always sort of pop up as seemingly unconnectable dots on the fringe. And so for us, and we actually, this is our big, so we do put out an annual report every year. This is it. It's massive.
Massive.
And there are, this year, 159 trends worth paying attention to. But for us, our trends it grows rather than shrinks. So our trends, stick around. But it's essential for anybody who's interested in understanding what's coming next to follow them and to have some kind of method to understand what's coming next.
What got you into looking at trends for the future and looking at where things were going to go? When did you become a futurist?
So I started my company 11 years ago. We're now in our second decade. But it's not like I was a kid and decided I want to grow up and be a futurist. I didn't even know that there was such a job.
Right.
My first career was as a journalist. And I lived in Japan and China for a long time and was covering the intersection of technology and the economy. But before then, I always had one foot in programming and computers and tech and stuff. So it wasn't until I was in Japan and I could see the future unfolding, because this was in the late 90s when a lot of the mobile technology that we came to, that we're sort of taking for granted now, it was like I saw all the research that was in progress. And I just kept thinking, man, as a journalist, I'm reporting on, I'm just basically talking about all kinds of stuff that's already happened, but I know what's coming next. I can see it. That is much more interesting to me. So that was happening. And I read Future Shock by Alvin Toffler and saw that his job title was futurist. And I thought, oh, I wonder what that is. That sounds interesting to me. So.
Yeah. And then in your book, you actually have a story about walking into this technology market.
Akihabara, yeah.
Yeah. And coming, you were looking for a phone or something and come across this guy who has phones from the future.
Yeah. So I used to hang out, Akihabara has really changed, but it's the electronics district in Tokyo that used to be just these teeny, it was a giant fire hazard, just explosion waiting to happen. You can just imagine these teeny tiny tight quarters you can barely walk down. There's just wires and components and motherboards and chipsets and stuff all over the place. And I was waiting for a friend and I was lost. And I wound up talking to this old computer geek, and he was showing me, basically I got to see a phone that was connected to the internet. And I just it was amazing to me that, and I could sort of see what was about to come next but I wasn't just imagining it. It was based on actually all the reporting that I had been doing. So it just changed. That night for me really changed everything. And I had a very hard time going back to work where the newspaper was still the focus, the paper itself. And all I could think of was pretty soon we're all going to take photos on these phones and we're going to take videos and we're going to share them. And that, and back then the editors couldn't conceive of a day when anybody would want to publish anything except for a very highly edited, perfect, high resolution photo taken from a quality camera,
Right. Yeah. How would anyone ever be using these little mobile devices that use strange, QWERTY keyboards?
Yeah. Yeah. But,
low resolution. They can't imagine that they could be the 4K that they are now.
That's right. And within 20 years, this is how quickly things change. Most of the new phones in cameras come with an editing suite that would rival anything on your computer. And you can wind up with a better shot that, an edited shot that's ready to roll than you could with, a standard point and shoot digital camera.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how quickly it's moved forward. And this is just really how technology is moving. It's that doubling or that exponential pace of progress as the chips get faster themselves. But when you're looking at trends, it's not just about how fast the technology can move, it's the social aspects also.
That's right. So yeah, anybody who's interested in science or technology, oftentimes they get stuck looking at that science or technology itself. And the thing is that you have to, nothing develops in a vacuum. So the tech may be moving along great. CRISPR, for example, CRISPR technology and the gene editing technique is sort of ready to go, but there are things like norms and standards and regulations, and we've got a totally new kind of president who's about to take office with people surrounding him who do not understand science and technology, who've made a lot of assumptions. And so regardless of how advanced that science or technology might be, it's still dependent upon things like, Congress, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Or other things like education and wealth disparity and demographics. So when we are forecasting the future of anything, we have to take into consideration all these other areas. You have to look at all of them.
And so what are some of those basic components that you come into? As you know, in your book, we're not going to go into the entire book here, but but what are some of the key points that people need to consider when they're starting to look at it?
Sure. So, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind, is that the name of the game is trends, but you have to identify the right kind of a trend. And in a sense, everybody likes to do a year ahead or X number of years ahead. Everybody wants to know how soon the future is. And the reality is that time doesn't run in a linear way. If it did, if developments in time ran in a chronological linear way, that would imply that we're all robots and that we're just carrying out somebody else's pre-programmed code. We're just executing on somebody else's code. So if you assume that we're not in Westworld and that we are not all running on somebody else's loop and that we do have free will, some people may not. There are plenty of people who don't think we do. If that's the case, then it's incumbent upon us to to sort of force ourselves not to think in a linear way, which is kind of hard to do. And to get really comfortable with ambiguity. So the other key piece
of it, which again is not something people are into.
No, especially not scientists, right?
Yeah.
Because while the methodology that's described in the book is something anybody can do, it has 6 steps, it's still rooted in evidence and data. And at some point, you sort of start off by looking at the fringe, which is this area of sort of unusual suspects that you wouldn't normally consider. It's not the trades, it's not TechCrunch, it's looking for information in other places. You then have to look for hidden patterns. There's a method there's like a pretty easy way to do that. And you can also use regression analysis, which is what I do at work. So there is a method to this, a quantifiable method, but there is no definitive answer, which is difficult for a lot of people. And then the third step is to ask a lot of questions to make sure that the trend candidate that you've identified is right and that you haven't missed anything. So those first 3 steps identify the what, that gets you to what is the trend worth following. And then the second half of the process is where are we? So what's the timing on this thing? No, given that we have no idea what, 5 years from now, exactly what it will look like, but what do we think the trajectory looks like? Mm-hmm. And then the 5th and 6th step are what do we do about it? And that's where, that's actually the work that most people, when they think of futurists, that's what they think about. So it's developing scenarios and testing out different probabilities and possibilities. And in fact, a lot of companies like to kick off their big brainstorming, like their big strategic planning, and they like to go straight to scenarios. But if you haven't done any of the really important research and work before then, basically all you're doing is writing really shitty science fiction, which is fine. I mean, it's like a fun Saturday afternoon activity, but it's not going to serve you really well professionally. So that's what's described in the book. And by the end of it, there's more to it than that, but these are the basic tools that every futurist who works professionally uses. Every futurist has some kind of methodology. Every futurist who's doing this well uses data and evidence. They're not just coming up with crazy ideas. But from my point of view, just as everybody learns the scientific method when they're in elementary school, and every business person has to understand basic accounting, I really think 2017 is the year for everybody to learn the tools of a futurist.
Because the future is coming faster and faster, whether or not you want it to.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. I think a lot of people assume that there is no, the future hasn't been written yet. There's no, right? There's nothing predestined. And if we accept the fact that we're not robots, what that implies is that each one of us has the ability to create our own preferred futures. So we just got to do it, right? But in order to do that, you do have to have a sense of what's coming.
Okay. So here's a little bit ago you were talking about how it's not linear. Like things aren't just going to sort of unfold. Perhaps there's one example that in history that's always sort of amazed me is that well before there was cable television going throughout this country, we had satellites in space beaming those signals down to dishes, which is like such a huge technology leap past. But then it turned out actually just digging a ditch and running cable from house to house to house. Actually, you could do more stuff with it. So it was a little more convenient and you could have internet later and stuff like that. What is there anything you see on the horizon that feels like it's going to be sort of that big leap? Like we're sort of heading towards one thing, but there's something else that we're going to do that's going to be crazier in between, like a big sort of shortcutting, as though we were, instead of just and I guess maybe one of them is how quick the automated car, self-driving car is really arriving.
Yeah, so AI is, I think, a really good. So AI and machine learning are part of autonomous vehicles. It may feel like we are standing at the sort of this huge explosion in autonomous vehicles, which and in there I would lump in self-driving cars, but also sensitive, like drones with sense and avoid technology. Yeah. Okay, and if you looked at everybody's press releases, Ford had ratcheted up its time frame, and it's now saying 2021 is the year that it'll start rolling out its fleet. Okay, so here's what I mean by elastic thinking and time not functioning in a sort of normal linear way. There were self-driving cars that GM was testing in the 50s. They had a self-driving car, they had a special track. So this is not brand new technology. Flying cars is another, like, everybody loves to make fun of, like everybody loves to hate on flying cars. And if you go back to the early 1900s, as soon as there was a plane that was taking flight, as soon as there was a car, right? As soon as the Model T left the factory, people were trying to figure out how to make that thing fly.
Can we put wings on it? Yeah.
There was a patent filed in 1919 that essentially took, that Ford, car and made it into a helicopter hybrid. And every decade since, we keep thinking that this is a new idea, right? But if you go back, every decade, there's been some kind of new flying car project. There's been some kind of new self-driving vehicle project. And even with AI, it feels as though we're standing on the precipice of this groundbreaking new technology. AI has its roots in the 1400s. Ada Lovelace in the 1800s put in the footnotes of a paper she was translating that someday, computers might think. Here's what's going on. If it's something that we haven't been following because we've been paying attention to the fringe, it feels new and novel. And so what's happening is we humans keep finding ourselves in these cycles every 20 years where technology overwhelms us and we feel like everything is new and novel. And by the way, there's a direct correlation between that happening and people suddenly calling themselves futurists and people fetishizing the future and technology. But what's, we're just trying to make sense of all of this. And we keep finding ourselves surprised. And the whole goal of what I do for a living is to make sure that the future is more boring. If I've made the future more boring for you, right, it means that you're not as surprised, which is a good thing because people who have to make decisions should never make important decisions under duress. Right. So when you think about when I think about the future of self-driving vehicle, of like autonomous vehicles or self-driving cars, my clients always want the time frame broken up into like neat little chronologic like blocks, like 2 years, 5 years, because that aligns with their strategic business processes. But it's totally irrelevant, because just because your calendar has 2 years doesn't necessarily mean that everything else, lines up or moves at a rate that's similar.
Yeah, and there have been many times when I've seen time frames of technology growth where the technology stays very much fringe or just in development for an incredibly long period of time before the real development on that, whatever it is, peaks, and then it's an exponential rate up. And so if something is just moving along very slowly and not very many people know about it, it's very fringe. I mean, what is it that differentiates it? Are there traits that can differentiate something popping out and becoming like a real future trend?
Well, so there's 4 characteristics of what makes a trend. But the point of following trends is to understand the change that's happening.
Yeah.
A great example, and nothing that's really worth paying attention to happens like overnight. There is no such thing as a trend just suddenly like popping up. If you go back to the 90s, when there was this sort of shy British guy working in a lab in Scotland who'd been toiling away for like 20 years with, spermatozoa, right? And then like after many, many, many failed experiments and like after all this work, he manages to clone a sheep.
Right.
So this is Dr. Ian Wilmot, and the world collectively lost its mind, right? And
I can't believe somebody cloned a living being.
That's right. Yeah. The Church of Scotland invoked the name of the devil and like condemned him for what he had done. Then President Clinton held a press conference to reassure the American people that there were not going to be cloned humans running around rampant, right? And the thing is, it felt as though this fringe, fringe is not a pejorative term when I use it. So this work that had been happening outside of everybody's vantage point, out on the fringes, it's not like he just miraculously made all of this science sort of happen over like a week or two, right? It had been decades in development, and his peers knew that. But there weren't any conversations around ethics. There wasn't anybody really talking about it until he went public. Now, we just had the same thing happen with China and CRISPR, and the editing that it's been doing. Here in the United States, we don't have a national bioethics policy or set of norms or standards. And so what's happened, we keep winding up in these situations where everybody freaks out, and lawmakers want action, right? And then they make stupid decisions.
There was some ban on, wasn't there, on human-animal hybrid clones?
No chimeras, no chimeric research.
That now, because that was the next thing, of course, people were heading right to.
Right, and you know what wound up happening? We wound up with drugs, not demons, right? Mm-hmm. And basically everybody forgot. There was a great Pew study done right around then, and a poll, Gallup, I think it was Gallup and CBS. You would have thought that like the world was just humanity was going to be over. And within just a few years, nobody thought about the fact that 80% of the things they consumed were somehow genetically modified. Like it just nobody even thinks about it. And unless you've somehow gotten a hold of your own hybrid seeds for everything that you consume, and you've made your own, heirloom, not hybrid, and you've composted and made your own completely organic material, like everything that we come in contact with has been somehow modified. And nobody cares. Nobody thinks about it.
I know. I think it's really funny. Lately, people I know, friends, they've been posting the backs of terribly processed foods. And the thing that they're getting upset about is it says, contains genetically modified organisms on the back, and they're not upset at like all the other ingredients, other things that they're eating that's genetically modified. And I'm like, yeah,
that's like
corn, or it's this,
right. But that's part of the problem. When people start trying to get mathy, right, or they start using like sciencey terms out of context or without understanding them, you wind up with these problems. genetically modified means a lot of different things, and they're not necessarily all what everybody thinks that they mean. But again, this comes back to how technology and science is pervasive in every single thing that we do. You know, and without having enough information, you wind up with public outcries and misinformation spreading. As much as everybody's concerned about fake news, there's plenty of fake science news and fake tech news, right? All over the place.
We talk about that too. Yeah. It's too much of it. Too much of it. So thinking about, you mentioned, we talked a little bit about AI. Looking at the trends for AI, it's been worked on for years and years. People are now predicting like 2045, 2065, that it will reach a human level intelligence.
So again, like,
are you predicting these trends?
Those numbers are completely meaningless, and let me break this down for you and explain why.
Please do.
And also add some context, because we went through this exact same thing in the 60s when a whole bunch of sciencey people in were very excited about AI, and were making these predictions about how during the Cold War, AI would mean the advent of machines that could simultaneously translate Russian into English. So this was like the big driving factor. But we didn't have the compute power back then. So when this failed to, so when whatever year it was, 1972 rolls around, right, and we don't have these magical machines, the government yanked funding. A lot of we entered what was called an AI winter. So here's why no futurist worth her salt would ever say by the year 2065 we'll have the singularity bullshit where machines are all talking to each other. Here's why: because that would assume that I know every single thing our government's about to do, right? And that would assume that I can predict how Donald Trump is going to act while in office.
Right.
The thing is that the technology and you can do the math, and you can assume that Moore's law holds and everything else, and maybe that technology will soldier on. But a lot of the funding for this research and work comes directly from government grants, many of which could be completely dried up in the next year, among other things. So anyhow, and it's a dangerous thing to do that. I can tell you pretty definitive, like the stuff that's in our report, these are bona fide trends that we've been tracking, and I feel very comfortable saying this is the stuff you need to pay attention to over the next 12 months. I will not tell you what the what the world will look like in the year 2017, but given what we know to be true today, these are the things that you need to be paying attention to, and this is why. To do anything, I mean, it's nonsensical to say that by this year in time we'll be able to do X, Y, Z. All it's doing is hopefully everybody's right, because otherwise it just sets everybody up for more and more disappointment, and then funding dries up and interest dries up, and we wind up setting humanity backwards.
So this is something that I've heard a lot about too when we talk about climate change interpretation. We talk a lot about not giving clear expectations, because even if you end up curbing some of the effects of climate change, then you won't fulfill the prophecy you've set up, and then deniers will tell you it's not real, right? So they're trying to get away from these sea level rise statistics of Venice will be underwater by 2030 and stuff like this. But so do you still feel comfortable making predictions that certain things will at some time exist?
Well, yeah, so here's the key. Here's what's going on. When we are when we're confronted with something that we don't understand, our brain requires a shortcut. So we need some kind of analogy to make sense of that thing, right? And so what we tend to do to get our attention centered and focused is to tell a story. So just like any idiot can take a look at climate data, right? It's data. It's not politicized. It's just like numbers on a spreadsheet. Like any idiot can look at that and see that we are in an Anthropocene, right? That we have changed the planet, and we don't have to make a value judgment whether that's good or bad or meaningless, but it's different, right? But it's hard for people to understand what that means. And in order for them to make sense of it, we need to do things like Venice will be, if things continue the way they are, Venice will be underwater. The best way forward is for everybody to like be okay with some ambiguity and just like understand that things are different, right? But most people won't do that, so we need the stories.
Right.
Now the challenge with that, and the thing that really sucks for us humans, is that like to me, what is inconceivable is that science and technology have become politicized, right? I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, you got to go way back, Amy. You got to forget the future. Look into the past. I mean, instead of the politics of today, just think of the politics of the church and how it conflicted with science so heavily. I mean, it's been a struggle all the way through from the beginning to allow facts to stand with them by themselves, even if they upset the balance of power that holds the politics in its pocket for that whatever age it is.
That's right.
I mean, it's always challenging somebody's powers. I mean, there was this whole
dominant paradigm, right?
Yeah, there's like these weird things. It's like utility companies don't like the fact that people are putting solar panels on their roofs. Or not that people aren't, but more so that there's companies that are charging people and getting the solar panels put up there, and are charging back the utility companies.
Right.
But they like the electric car.
Right.
Because
the side of that is, I used to live. I've spent a lot of time in Beijing, and I used to live in Hong Kong, and that smog that rolled in the other day, like. That's kind of hard. Like the fact that you can't breathe outside. And I was in India over the summer, and there were days that like, forget, like I'm not a runner, but I mean, like you couldn't be outside. And that's not just that it was a hot day. That is that we have put enough stuff into the air that is now trapped, that can't move around, and but again, people have to care enough that in mass they are willing to do something about it.
Oh, absolutely. But my point, I guess, was just that it upsets a norm, a static norm. Whenever new technology, new development comes out and a new innovation, it's going to have ripples of. I mean, look at the poor post office. They're closing local. We used to have 2 post offices in town. Now we've got 1, and nobody's ever in line there because everything's coming through UPS or. I mean, these new things come about, they change the balance, and that's a bigger part sometimes of how the landscape of how technology changes the landscape. It's in all the other companies and things that we're used to having to shift, having to themselves change. So it's not just that now we have.
But the problem is they don't want to. So and the biggest problem is for companies that are really successful. They are the ones who are at the worst. I think at thinking through and really seeing the future, which is how you wind up with a BlackBerry that implodes, right? Conversely, there are companies like IBM and Nintendo, which have been around for more than 100 years. Nintendo started out as a playing card company, right?
What?
And yep, they manufactured Hanafuda beautiful playing cards. And they have, you can make fun of the Wii and some of their failed products, but the reality is that they've been at the forefront of game development this entire time. And guess what? They never pivoted. They still make those playing cards 100 years later.
Although if Henry Ford really had his way and did have a monopoly on that business and maintain it, we'd all be driving that Model T or Model A, maybe. Like, I mean, he thought that was absolute perfection. This is what the car is supposed to look like for forever, and we'd probably still have that. And it was. I don't
know. Do you think he would have been that averse to change?
Yes. Yeah. And it was, in fact, that like his company
Justin's
was losing.
Sure of it.
No, I am. Well, I mean, at the time he was losing like 10, 20, 15% per year market share to these upstart companies who were like, maybe the car wasn't as great, but they painted it a different color. Right? Like they gave a different slight look to it or put a little bit more charisma. And he thought that was just ridiculous because it was, it was his invention on top of it was his industry. And so he was extremely probably invested and proud of it too. But yeah, it took him a long time to change. And in fact, it took almost losing the Ford Motor Company before he started coming out with other models. So I mean, there's resistance there. And then we have massive energy resistance to energy change, because our biggest, what we call energy companies, are mining, refining, and transportation companies. They don't really care that the end product is energy. That's sort of an afterthought of it. So yeah, if we did all of a sudden have the backyard hydrogen generator that would power our household, and we would
big Tesla battery.
So let's talk about that for a second. So Amy, what do you foresee in the world of energy?
Well, I have a Tesla Model S, and I got to tell you, I mean, now to be fair, I'm not generating my own energy. So when I plug the car into the wall, I'm still drawing down the power grid. But nothing feels better than driving by gas stations, knowing that I will never, ever have to pump gas into my car. Now, that being said,
quick question.
Yeah.
What state are you in?
I'm in Maryland.
You're in Maryland. Does Maryland's, because this is always my concern about the electric car, right? Because in California, we have a pretty green grid.
Yeah.
So I know at least I might be if I'm driving an electric car, might be doing it on hydroelectric. Could possibly be coming from wind, a little bit of solar. But if I was in the middle of Kentucky, and I don't know what Maryland is, but if I was in the middle of Kentucky, my Tesla would be running on coal. And there's something in the back of my mind where I'm driving a coal-powered car, depending on where I'm plugging in.
Maryland is actually one of the most progressive states in the union, so
it is. Yeah,
our energy comes from a combination of sources. But no, but here's what I was going to say. So, you know, we're still drawing down from the grid. This is one of those things where I think it's going to be really difficult for people to change their mindset. I bet you there's a whole swath of Americans who feel like it's unpatriotic for me to be driving this car, right? Even though my oil is probably coming in from some other, right? It's probably not natural gas.
Even though you've got one of the most made in America cars.
Yes, currently made, yeah.
So this is going to be the interesting question over the next couple of years. The Gigafactory, right, will be mass producing theoretically Teslas at some point without, you know, so it's made in America, but made in America without the assistance of American humans, right? So it'll
robots.
Be made by American robots.
Yeah.
You know, and this sort of refrain, this made in America refrain, I think has much more to do about jobs and people than it does about geography. And if our economy is, you know, no economy is going to flip itself positive overnight, which is a good thing, right? That would cause massive instability. So, you know, all these jobs that everybody thinks are somehow going to materialize in the age of AI, right? Seems like it's probably misguided. And this is my circuitous way of saying, if I want to understand the future of energy, you have to consider all of these other buckets, right? You have to, you know, the future of energy is tied very much so to the future of AI and the future of the economy and the future of demographics, right? As much as it is the future of oil subsidies and whatever politically is happening in Saudi Arabia and the natural gas reserves, you know, up north in the Arctic, right? So, and that's what a futurist does. A futurist would look not just at battery powered house, this cool battery thing that Elon Musk is trying to invent, right? Because the idea is he also
solar roof tiles, and then you have the battery that he makes, and then you have the Tesla, and it all connects together.
And all of that makes sense. So again, that's another thing where if you just looked at that in a vacuum, you could probably say, oh, by the year 2035, it'll be possible to draw down and make all of our own electricity. But you have to consider all of these other vectors of change.
So give us please some hope. What do you see coming down the line that's exciting? What do you see that gives you some optimism for the future?
So the I will, those are two questions in my mind. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll answer the what's coming down the pipeline that's cool second. First, I will tell you why there's a good reason to be optimistic. The reason to be optimistic is because we have I will tell you the deep, dirty secret of every futurist who does this for real. None of us knows the answer because we can't know the answer, because only one thing can happen next. And that should give everybody great hope that you are in control of your own destiny. You're not living out somebody else's plan. And the truth is that because we cannot know exactly what's going to happen next, the very best that we can do, which is what I describe in the book, is to try to forecast and understand, based on what we know to be true in the present, what we're seeing, and modeling out different scenarios, what's likely to come, which allows us to create our own preferred futures, right? So that is great news for everybody. That means that you don't have the answer. If anybody's going to have it, I'm going to have it, right? I don't have the answer. None of us has the answer. The answer is up to us. Right?
I've got the answer.
What is it?
It's actually more of a question than the answer, but I think I presume I know what the answer is. I know we're going to go to the book real quick. I have one thing though. We're going to go into a future where already automation has increased the jobs in this country by the tens of hundreds of it's taken away. Right? Hundreds of thousands of. People don't need to do manufacturing. Robots can do such a tremendous amount of it. Just like you point out, the tent sled that's going to create energy, the thing, no people really need to work there. And at some point as AI increases, I can imagine the scientists or even the futurists are going to be replaced by AI and robots. My question is, what do you think people will do for work in
Or are you asking me
a
about
future America?
Income?
Well, yeah, is it going to be, because it seems like it has to become a completely socialist society at some point where you're just given money to spend and live off, or a house for free and the energy's for, at some point there won't be anything worth having a human do.
Again, that's the exact same conversation. Going back to keys, right? We have this conversation now. Every time there's a new technology, this refrain about UBI comes into play again. And the reality is that AI is not going to take all of our jobs. It will displace portions of the workforce, but it'll also create new, there's a whole bunch of brand new jobs that are waiting to be created with people who will have to have new specialties that we've never thought of before. For example, there's an entire field of nano medicine that's really exciting. So nanobots and personalized medicine, that's going to require somebody who has an MD as well as some kind of background in computer science, or like an MD roboticist, right? So there are, and that's at the top level, but if you think about what comes below that, there are the people who service the robots and mechanics who are able to do sort of micro robotics work. So there'll be entirely new fields that we haven't even conceived of before, which means explosions in the job market in other areas. But this is part of our lizard brains talking, right? We get freaked out and scared every time there's something new, and we assume that it's going to obviate the humans, right, when it comes to tech. So anyhow, but again, it's not bad news. It's bad news for some people, but it's not bad news in general.
Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. We've kept you so long. The signals are talking. Why today's fringe is tomorrow's mainstream is the book all this conversation has come from. Amy, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's just been wonderful getting to chat with you. You are a wealth of knowledge.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you,
Amy.
And where can people find your book and information about you?
Sure. So the book is available everywhere. You can go to your local independent bookstore owner, hopefully, if there are any where you live. If not, it's #1 bestseller right now on Amazon, so you could go there too. And our annual tech report is free. We make it free every year. So if you go to Slideshare and look up the Future Today Institute, it's a giant document, so don't plan on reading it in one sitting, but the book will tell you how to think about what's coming. The trend report will tell you what is coming in the next year.
I think that's exciting. So thank you very much. This is just wonderful to be able to have. It's a great resource for people who have never thought this way to maybe start considering how to think about the future.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks.
And that was Amy Webb. She has fantastic things to say. Definitely a deep thinker there.
Yeah.
I mean,
and she didn't give a whole lot away, even though she.
I know we
from
tried.
the future.
We tried.
We really tried.
We tried.
She was keeping it close to the vest.
That's right. That's right. But that's okay. That's how you get a book.
That's true. Now we have to buy the book.
Or
rent it from your local library.
You could get it from a library because we know libraries are awesome. So let's keep libraries in business. Why don't we? Yes. We are going to take a very quick break and we'll be back with, you know what we do best. It's not
prestidigitation.
That's right. We're Nostradamusing the rest of the show. We're not Amy Webbing the show. We are Nostradamusing the show.
We'll give you the answers to the future.
And it's not prestidigitation. It's not magic. Prestidigitation is magic. Prognostication, trying to tell the future. There we go.
It's both.
Dictionary.
I'm gonna pull a rabbit out of a hat after the break.
We don't need rabbits. I just need my son to go to bed.
That gives me a new prediction. Hang on.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back in just a few moments. Stay tuned for predictions from TWIS.
You heard with more than intuition. The line of reason shows the way to go. No conclusion. The methods of hypothesis and patience are the only things I need.
All right, everybody. If you want to help send my child to bed, maybe it would be awesome if you checked out the TWIS calendars. I was counting, and I think we have something like 18 calendars that are unaccounted for. Da, da, da. Yeah, we're down to the wire. A lot fewer than 20 calendars available at this point in time for the TWIS 2017 calendar. Blair made the calendars. Blair made these amazing calendars that are very pretty that we're going to have one hanging on our wall here to help us get through the school year, find out what are some really awesome days like National Panda Day, Blair's favorite. Save a Spider Day, another one of Blair's favorites. You want to see the calendar? Kai wants to see the calendar. Kai can see the calendar. TWIS.org is the place to go if you'd like to get a calendar. Additionally, we are going to San Francisco in a couple of weeks, the SF Sketchfest. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're doing a live show at Cal Academy of Sciences SF Sketchfest Nightlife. So there's a lot of comedy going on at the Academy that night. And I think we're going to be funny too. I didn't say that. I don't know what we're going to do. We're just going to do our show the way that we do it, but 40 minutes of it. It'll be very nice. And if you are interested in that, please go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/thisweekinscience under the events. It is our event, January 19th. It'll be so much fun. It's way different. It's a different calendar than last year, isn't it, Kai? Very different. Okay. TWIS also has other merchandise. It's available. If you are interested, head over to our Zazzle store. The Zazzle store can be found by going to TWIS.org and clicking on the wonderful Zazzle link. When you get there, you'll find out all the wonderful things that are available. Thanks to Blair, she has set up this store very nicely to show off our logo on a wonderful goodies for you. We have sweatshirts and hats and tote bags. There's a mammoth pillow, a lumbar mammoth pillow. You can even have... It's in the calendar, right, Kai? Thanks. We also have wrapping paper from Blair's Animal Corner. So many things. Wonderful pictures. TWIS logo, Blair's Animal Corner, all on the Zazzle store. So go to twis.org and click on the Zazzle store link and you'll be able to find it all. If you are more interested in just sending us some money, we accept that too. That's very helpful if you do that. You can do that a couple of ways. One way is to just go to our, that's right, show us the money, as Blair is demonstrating right now below me. It's pretty funny. It's like the money sprinkler. I don't know what that was. Anyhow, on our website, if you head over to our website and scroll on down, there's this amazing Support TWIS donate button. You can click on it. It makes it really easy to donate through PayPal if you like PayPal. And a lot of you have been doing this over the holidays. And I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My monthly foray into the PayPal account, I was very happily surprised. And thank you everybody who took the time and was generous enough to give through this donation button. Thank you so much. It really means a lot. Another way that you can do it is through Patreon. And through Patreon, you are able to just click and become a patron. Get going. It makes it easy. You can donate however you like, how much you like, on a per episode or monthly basis, and you get fun little gifts for each amount that you are able to donate. And going through Patreon, it's fun. Sometimes you get advance notice of videos that we're sending out or other things through Patreon. It's a great platform for becoming a part of the community and helping us produce TWIS on a weekly basis. It's just that click, become a patron, make it nice and easy. But if you are unable to support us in any way financially or, buying merchandise, that kind of stuff, totally get it. But if you are able to help us by sharing us with your friends, family, coworkers, telling people about TWIS, helping us get more people listening and watching TWIS, then you're really helping us out as well. And everyone who's done all of that, everyone who's joined, started supporting us on Patreon, you guys, we're growing, and it's all because of you. All of you out there, you are the ones who are helping us grow and who are helping us become more of what we want to be. We couldn't do this without you. We really thank you for your support. Thank you.
I deal with the people that repeatedly insist that you show them real proof that your powers exist. Hey, convince some real skeptics or cease and desist. Trust me, 6 months from now, you folks will not be missed.
What is the moral that we all must learn? Especially those of us with money to burn.
And we are back with more This Week in Science. Prediction show.
We are back with the prediction show. Yeah. Exciting. It was a wonderful interview with Amy Webb in the first half of the show, but now it is our turn. It's our turn. How did we do last year? Let's start there with 2016. How did we do?
Let's get the bad news out of the way first.
Yeah, good news, bad news. What did we do? What did we not get right? This is fun. This is the fun part of the show. Okay, I predicted that the LHC will discover that there was this unpredicted bump in the data in 2015, and people were like, "Oh,
particle will change all of physics."
Right? Is it going to be the graviton? What's it going to be? And I predicted that it was just going to be a bump and not new physics. And you know what? I was right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Physics stayed
Points to
standard.
Kiki.
Points to Kiki. I also said I wasn't following the rumors. I didn't actually trust the rumors in the scientific grapevine, and I listened to Justin, and I said gravitational waves will not be detected again. So
Back to
Well,
zero.
you still had like a 90% success rate with that prediction,
Yeah, you-
right?
previously, yeah.
Well, except no, because you were always wrong predicting that they would be, and I was always
Oh, well, then it was Justin that had a
I
90%
was
accurate
always-
success rate with that
yeah.
one.
Thankfully, last year I switched
He
at the
did.
last
No,
minute.
You
He
did?
Well, we'll get to that in a
Oh
second.
my gosh. Okay. Continue.
I also said Jon Snow in wolf form will live to become king of Game of Thrones and marry Daenerys. And we haven't gotten there yet. So still,
The show's still on the air.
it's a negative because it hasn't happened yet. Right. I said the Arctic will melt in the winter night.
Yes,
Ding,
it was
ding,
downright
ding.
balmy there.
I think I win that
Wow.
point.
You do for sure.
I said 2016 will be the next warmest year on record.
I don't think that's a
The
hit.
first 6 months were the hottest year.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but your prediction quite clearly says the next warmest year, making it the number 2. Yeah, it's the next warmest. Not the warmest, the next warmest.
Justin, you know what it
means.
means.
Because I predicted that it would be
It's
the
this
warmest.
week in science, not this week in semantics. Let's continue.
Very good.
Sometimes it's both.
Sometimes it's both.
I
All
predicted in
right.
2017 I'll burn Justin. Get it?
It happened. This could it did happen. Private space flight it will take it to the next level with suborbital flights. And no, there were not really any private space flight suborbital flights, but there was some awesome stuff with Blue Origin and SpaceX and stuff. But I didn't get that one right. I also said the Hyperloop pod tests will not be successful. They were successful. Hyperloop is still on track. So that's -2 right there for me.
Sci-fi happening now.
Yeah. Okay. The Juno mission will be wildly successful, again showing NASA capable of doing amazing things on a tight budget. I think that was a +1 right there. I mean, they did exactly what they said they were going to. And then I said, and an expanded budget will lead to an expansion of proposed missions to possibly life-bearing moons in our solar system. And you know what NASA didn't announce today? Anything about going to Enceladus or Titan or any of the cool places. They want to go to like asteroids that they can mine and stuff. So I think so there are 2 missions to asteroids at this point in time, but not to life-bearing moons. So CRISPR will continue to wow us with new discoveries about life. That was so general, but yes, I got it right. And then after last year's epigenome description papers, expect to see more studies detailing how the epigenome influences organisms of all kinds. There are more of those, lots more epigenome. And then I said TWIS will enjoy a fantastic live show in New York City, which we did.
We did. That was incredible.
It was great. And I'm very sorry that we are not returning to New York City this year, but hopefully next year we will be able to return. I think we can only do one January away mission at a time. So we'll have to fight for it next year. But NYC, that was good last year. And I want to say thank you to Eras for inviting us to the New York City STEM Festival.
Okay, Justin, how about your predictions?
Okay, so my prediction was 2016 would be the hottest year on record.
Yes,
Not next hottest, but hottest year on record. I also predicted Homo naledi would be dated into the 3 million-ish plus range, challenging Lucy as our early ancestor, which did not happen. There were challenges to Lucy in the sense that they found lots of Australopithecines outside of that range, far afield, so much more common. And in fact, Hominaletti and the study into it has last year sort of given a clear picture of what they're calling the braided stream of human ancestry, meaning it was an experiment. That crossbreeding that we've talked about a little bit between Neanderthal and early modern man, actually that sort of crossbreeding took place between hominids, they now believe, over and over and over again, to the point where there isn't going to be a linear backward ancestor, but much more of a interchange experiment thing that ultimately resulted.
Evolutionary radiation. You know, the way things evolve.
I predicted that bad-brained, junk-branded, and prepaid propaganda substituted for science over and over again. And I guess that's already going on. Again, 2016, I predicted, would be the year scientists finally have had enough of it. They begin fighting back by publishing several studies that suggest the political ideology of the Republican Party doesn't actually exist. I think they proved that without the help of science, actually. I also went on to say horoscope writers, fearing the loss of readership, would begin to get very specific, calling out readers by name with direct warnings. Hey, Blair, avoid escalators today. Kiki, the answer to the pub quiz, and the pub quiz is Fenris. And Justin, it's not an aspirin. Don't take it. I don't know that because I don't read horoscopes, even in order to see if I was right. I don't know if they got any more specific than they were in the past. Said that CRISPR-Cas9 would make news highlights throughout the year. Mosquito. Oh gosh, I can't even read this part because my.
The malaria experiment is going to get deployed after early success. With a what?
The mosquito malaria experiment gets deployed after early success, and this was a CRISPR thing where they were the gene drive thing,
right?
Which
there was a kibosh
actually
put on that this year, actually in 2000. I see this year, last year, 2016. Florida said no, you will not.
Here's interesting. I said I have a 2017 prediction. I have a this year prediction in the middle of that is that this is 2017 would be the year malaria is actually eradicated. And Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation nets would be repurposed as soccer goal nets.
I hadn't heard that one.
No.
That one's coming.
Yeah, in 2017. So are you copying and pasting that for 2017?
I'm borrowing that one. That one's going to be in my prediction.
I feel like you have to because you already wrote it in stone last year.
Yeah. Several new drugs will be developed to target specific gene functions in diseases that were discovered using CRISPR-Cas9. I think that's correct. Well, it might not be. It's more like proteins and stuff than gene functions, but that's the same thing. The proteins that they create. Mama said knock you out. Using CRISPR-Cas9 to knock out specific genes in order to study the effects downstream will lead to a Nobel Prize in 2016. I don't think that happened. Once again, this is in writing. I say no gravity waves. However, that's what I had in writing. This is a clip of what was written from last year. And I remember because last year Kiki had decided to go no gravity waves, that I thought I better take the other side of the coin just for balance. And I said, this is the year we find gravity waves.
I feel like we need to roll back the tape on that.
Oh yeah, we will eventually. And then very shortly after, I was proved correct.
Right.
I also predicted that the my football prediction, Super Bowl prediction, which I do every year. I said the Denver Broncos would lose the Super Bowl. They did get there, but they won it.
Ah, well, at least you got them into the Super Bowl.
I got them there.
That's great.
Ah. No luck on that. All right, that's what Justin predicted and how he did last year. A little bit yes, a little bit
How'd
no.
you do, Blair?
How'd you do, Blair? Yeah.
A little bit of a mixed bag. I predicted that we will find microscopic life in space. Tests will be feverishly conducted to see if it is a contamination, a mistaken reading, or real extraterrestrial life, but results will be inconclusive. No, none of that. We will discover parthenogenesis in a species that has not previously been observed. So there are a bunch of studies about it being more common than they had thought previously, less of a last resort and more of a normal way of doing things in a lot of species, snakes, termites, but they didn't find anything new. They didn't find a new genera that did parthenogenesis this year. So it was mostly a no. I will release a 2017 Blair's Animal Corner calendar, and we will sell out. Well, I released the calendar.
We got a calendar, but it hasn't sold out yet.
TBD on the sellout. Come on, help me be right, guys. White nose syndrome in bats will be completely eradicated in a geographical region due to new treatments available. So if I had stopped at eradicated in a geographical region, I would have been right, because they found areas where the bats were naturally not susceptible to the disease, but it didn't happen from treatments yet. They did start treatments in the wild, but that hasn't happened yet.
And in fact, didn't you report on white nose actually spreading to the West Coast?
Yes.
This year? So it's spreading.
It was in Washington this year. Whoops. A mammothopent. I can't even say it. A mammoth elephant hybrid. Mammothopent.
You've got too many mamas in there.
No. Will happen to my chagrin. No, thankfully, that did not happen. A vaccine for toxoplasmosis will go on the market, but it will be for your cat. That did not happen. Instead, we found out that most likely toxoplasmosis has no effect on human behavior.
Nonsense.
Nah,
I don't remember
maybe.
that
I think
story.
that's I remember Justin reporting on that study, but it wasn't conclusive.
Yeah, it was a very small sample size. They also did
controversial,
find out this year that chimpanzees were essentially running at wild cats when they were infected with toxoplasmosis. So jury's still out. Jury's still out on the toxo.
Yeah.
I also predicted successful replacement of bodily organs with 3D printed ones in a human. No. We're on the way, but it didn't happen. Cuttlefish will be discovered to use 3 kinds of camouflage: visual, electroreception, and now audio. Nope.
But they do math?
But they do math.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually
So, I mean, it's still pretty
better
cool.
than the prediction.
They still are pretty surprising. Tardigrades will find new ways to shock us in 2016. They are like onions. This is a big yes. There were a bunch of stories, my favorites being that they were able to awaken them after being frozen for 30 years, and they found radiation shields in their genome.
Yeah.
That was a big one. There will be at least one question about climate change in the main presidential debates, but the issue will still be skirted. I was so wrong about this. There were no direct questions in the debates about it. And in fact, less than 2% of the total talking time in all of the debates were spent on climate change and environmental issues combined. A total of about 5 minutes, all of it by
Bernie Sanders.
Hillary Clinton. Water rationing will take place in the US in summer of 2016. This was actually a big fat yes, though you couldn't find it in a lot of newspapers. It was because it happened in California and they were called emergency drought regulations. But it was absolutely water rationing. Spiders will find new ways to terrify and fascinate us in 2016. They certainly did. My favorite one was when male widow spiders would bite through the exoskeleton of juvenile females to inseminate them before they were old enough to want to eat the males.
Yep, just preempt that whole thing.
Yeah. Fighting back.
I'll tell you another. The water rationing did also take place in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
That is true. New methods of traumatic insemination will be discovered. So not only that previously mentioned thing about spiders, but twisted winged parasites inseminated females through traumatic insemination in their neck while living as a parasite inside of a bee.
What a life.
So that was a big ding, 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 ding. HIV vaccine trials will begin. This did not happen, but instead a trial of genetic scissors to cut it out of the genome of the infected did begin. So almost. Crows will continue to show us how smart they are Absolutely. We talked about crows all year. They used tools, they created tools, they cheated and stole from other birds, and they communicated with each others on how to avoid danger. So crows definitely did that. And my last one was coffee will once again be shown to have positive health effects. So we didn't see many of those studies this year for humans, but we did have one particular study that we didn't actually talk about on the show that I found about coffee-infused foam that removed lead from contaminated water.
Right.
Really?
So kind of a yes.
Kind of, yeah.
I'd say I got like a 60% on that.
You just said
Yeah, I mean,
positive
coffee
health
and
effects.
positive
Right?
were both in that story you found.
positive health effects to
Well, that's health effects because then
sea
your water
life.
isn't contaminated anymore.
I believe you, the higher your voice gets.
The fish aren't dying.
Yeah, and nor are we from lead.
All right. So we've gone through our predictions for 2016. We got some right, we got some wrong, which, I think we're right up there with Nostradamus. Now is the time to predict 2017.
Ooh.
All right, Justin, what you got?
No proof of dark matter, despite multiple new tests scheduled for 2017. In fact, earlier signals that it might exist will fall down under further scrutiny. Sun will go completely dark during the day in America. If it stays this way, God, or perhaps many gods, will show up in person to explain everything to humanity. Otherwise, science as usual, folks. Microbial influence on human health becomes so well understood that fast food joints begin asking which kind of bacteria you would like with your meal.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Gene editing goes public, but much like the 3D printer, only a few people can do anything useful with it.
There we go.
One such application of gene editing will be applied by a mad citizen scientist who alters the cognitive abilities of 3 animals: a pet mouse, a feral cat, and accidentally a colony of ants. By the end of 2017, a mysterious hedge fund company will spend billions to fund a global ad campaign encouraging people to picnic more often.
Ha ha.
The mind microbiome connection leads to a startling discovery when political party affiliation is directly linked to specific strains of gut bacteria, as is the blue dress, gold dress phenomenon. That's also your gut bacteria. Bill Nye the Science Guy will be forced to change the parental rating on his new show from G to R after finding no way around cursing through every media interview in which the reporter mentions the current day's weather at their location in reference to global warming, even though the actual show content is unchanged. The Chinese ivory trade will come to a slow and incomplete stop. Meanwhile, elephants will begin to trade in human teeth. Home robotics will have a major breakthrough when engineers finally realize that people don't actually care about artificial intelligence, but really want artificial personality. Sales of both Flatterbot and the Yes Man Echo Chamber 500 outsell all other home appliances in 2017, even though they serve no functional purpose. AI will make some progress, however, as pre-recorded robocalls are replaced by live robots who go door to door. The subjectivity of these visits will be called into question at first, as the door-to-door robots don't actually seem to ask questions, but rather tell people how they will answer survey questions. But after a while, it is clear the robots know exactly how we will answer the questions before knocking on our door.
I'll say whatever you want, Mr. Robot. I'll say whatever you want.
NASA will be given a new directive to focus only on space exploration, followed by severe budget cuts. The Affordable Care Act will be repealed and replaced with a reality TV show resembling the Hunger Games. Only instead of energetic young people running through violent gauntlets, it's tired old sick people.
Oh no.
Are you writing a novel or doing predictions, Justin?
I know.
Next year's prediction show will be hosted by a futurist algorithm. In my Super Bowl prediction of 2017, Chiefs versus Cowboys. Cowboys win with the score of 24-17.
All right. He's getting you always have to get the football one in there.
You should always have a Super Bowl prediction.
I think a little of those, a couple of them, you might get it right. I don't know, Justin.
Close on all of them already.
A little far-fetched maybe, but you know, what do I know? I'm not a futurist.
Far-fetched. The future, as our futurist earlier explained, is not ours to know. It is ours to make. And if I can get this home gene editing kit to work, there will be a super colony of ants far more intelligent than your average hedge fund.
Asking for picnics.
Don't have far to go.
All right, Blair, what is your set of 2017 predictions?
Mine are a little less dystopian. I predict more exciting news about slime molds. Successful replacement of bodily organs with 3D printed ones in a human. I'm doing this one again. Fingers crossed.
You can, it's fine to try it again.
Yeah. I mean, you guys did gravity waves for like 10 years.
We did.
So taking the 3D printed organs. Tardigrades will continue to be the gift that keeps on giving. 2017 will be a very wet year in California, so everyone will forget about the drought and water crisis. That's pretty locked in already. An AI written TV show will premiere on a streaming network and gain vast popularity.
It makes me wonder if that hasn't already happened. Like,
it's a good question.
Already.
I don't think so.
There's so many
there has been an
formulaic
AI.
shows.
There has been an AI written movie.
Yeah, a short. It was 9 minutes.
Movie.
I watched it the other night. It's pretty clear they're not writing TV yet.
Yeah.
It felt very much like a dream, like a fever-induced dream. Anyway, I also predict that in 2017, President-elect Trump will withdraw from his plan to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, meaning he'll stay in there.
Meaning wishful thinking by Blair.
Yes, exactly. Self-driving cars will enter the roads in full force and start working for ride-sharing apps without a driver or a wheel, with many mishaps in the first week. A new political party will surface, with the main platform being the secession of blue states along the West Coast.
I think that's already happened. I mean,
Ecotopia, you guys.
Right? Yeah.
Citizen-led climate action will increase, with marches and demonstrations on the rise in the coming year. Restorative vision tests will run and work in a primate species.
I could see that happening. I mean, we had it in mice, right? And
mice very recently.
Yep. Primates are next.
And there's some stuff that has been tested in humans, but kind of. Yeah, okay.
And the tools will arise for a same-sex couple to have a child together that is genetically a reflection of just the two of them. Pretty close. And my very last one, TWIS, they're going to smash them dead at the SF Sketchfest.
There we go.
We're bringing weapons?
No, I don't think. Yeah,
we're gonna smash everybody by making them all so excited about science and laughing so hard.
Yeah, it's like the TV theater thing. Break a leg. You don't really want people to break a leg. We're not really gonna smash people.
I have to apologize to my daughter.
We're gonna have a really good time.
The winter play.
Let's have Sketchfest.
But all the kids are gonna show up with broken legs.
No, it would really hurt. All right, you guys. Here are my predictions. Blair, great predictions. Justin, great predictions. Here are my predictions. Climate. In 2017, it's going to be cooler and drier for much of the West, thanks to La Nina conditions in the spring. But then La Nina will go away, and then the West can expect heat waves and drought all over again. So forget all your pretty wetness. It's my dream phone music. Husband, get on the computer, and then you'll know that I'm still doing my show and my child is still awake. Ooh. CRISPR and gene editing. The Chinese will report positive results for their cancer tests this year. Hemophilia treatment will begin clinical trials this year. A treatment for gene-linked blindness will start clinical trials, and a different one will receive FDA approval. So I think there's going to be two big things for gene-linked gene editing stuff. And Zika and malaria will see successful vaccine trials. And when it comes to CRISPR's patent ruling, I think UC Berkeley is going to get it. I'm calling it for UC Berkeley in 2017 for CRISPR.
Wait, what is back up a little bit? What's this? What's the patent thing on it?
Yeah, so a team of UC Berkeley researchers basically put the first patent application in for CRISPR, but then another MIT Broad Institute researcher, they did something with CRISPR and had a different patent application in. And even though the MIT Broad Institute patent application came in second, it was given precedent to the patent office basically wanted to give them the patent because they got theirs on a fast track somehow that UC Berkeley didn't. And so then there was a big lawsuit where Berkeley's like, no, we got ours in first. We should have gotten the patent. And so,
And when you say UC Berkeley, it won't be UC Berkeley. It'll basically be the UC system, which operates its patents as the state of California.
Right.
And as the state, this is important. As the state, there's special cuckoo powers of a state having a patent on something that no individual can. So it's a crazy. Whenever the UC system is involved in patents, it's a really bizarre thing because it's the state of California technically that has that patent. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't actually thought of it from that perspective before.
Yeah, and that's why once the UC system or the state has a patent on something, it's very difficult for anybody else to do anything patenty on it because they're like, we're the state. It's already state property. You can't touch it. Like there's weird things. There's weird caveats that even if
state's gonna own it.
State has like
anyway, so I should say the state of California is going to get this patent.
I think you're right. I think the Berkeley lawsuit will win out, but because the patent that they file is actually a state patent and not an individual.
Interesting. Then moving on, optogenetics. I think that we're going to see trials of optogenetics in human eyes. That we're going to see the eyes basically are neural pathways to the brain, and I think we are going to see trials of putting optogenetic genes into the eyes of people to see if they can have effect on brain function in 2017. And along those lines, I think there are going to be early human studies for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease using light and optogenetics along those lines that will have promising results.
The eyes, the windows to the neural pathways to the brain.
To the brain. Yeah. So was it on? There was a story this last week when I was taking holiday and not looking at things, and somebody sent me a story that I am not finding the link to, unfortunately, so I can't thank them for the link to say thanks on the air. But they basically said that this study, they used 40 hertz pulsed light. And at first they had genetically modified mice so that they put the blue light and pulsed it on the brain and it at this 40 hertz, and it changed the function of the brain so that the brain decided to clean itself up and got rid of the Alzheimer's plaques in mice. And then they were like, oh, what'll happen if we do this pulsing the light at the eyes and not directly into the brain? And it did the same thing. So basically just these mice, they had to look at this light every day to make it happen. But these 40 hertz pulsed light through the optic pathway somehow stimulated neural cleanup processes that had stopped so that the Alzheimer's plaques got cleaned up in the mouse brain. So I think it's going to happen in human brains this next year. People are going to investigate this heavily this year.
Plus, people are going to start changing the refresh rate on their monitors.
Right? Maybe there's an app. Yeah, exactly. And then space. Cassini is going to make an unexpected discovery as it passes through the rings of Saturn to its death. Cassini is going to die next year. This we know. But I think it's going to make an unexpected discovery as it does so. And then for Juno on Jupiter, I actually think it's just going to find what we think it's going to find. And it's not going to really do anything unexpected, even though it's awesome. It's there. But then there's a robot mission from China, the Chang'e 5 lunar mission, going to the moon. It's going to go to the moon and it's going to grab bits of rock and it's going to come back and it's going to reinvigorate the space race next year. So I think. And then there's also going to be the Event Horizon Telescope. That's like a bunch of telescopes all working together. They're going to take a photograph of the event horizon of the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. And it's going to look really pretty. I don't know if it'll look pretty, but we'll learn things about.
They'll make it look pretty.
Yeah, we're going to take the first photograph of the event horizon of our black hole next year. It's going to be awesome. Artificial intelligence, I think self-driving trucks, not self-driving cars, not autos in cities, but I think trucks on highways are really going to begin to be used regularly, and there won't really be any accidents reported other than for lots of lost jobs for truck drivers. And then microbes, we're going to discover more.
Which, I mean, as a side note of that is I've heard that this technology is there, and and they've been wanting to institute it, but like the rate at which they do, because there's 100,000 jobs
in very powerful unions for the most part.
Very powerful unions today.
But there are lots of companies that want to save
when
money.
the scab is a robot.
Microbes, I think we're going to discover a lot more, specifically how microbes are tied to various human diseases like diabetes and the development of diabetes. Physics, I think physics will remain standard.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hitchhike that one. I like that one.
I think there will be a result, however, that will corroborate dark matter particles existing in the galactic halo, but axions will not explain dark matter in 2017. Neither will there be a major graviton discovery at all. But then
I got to start making that one every year.
Yeah, LIGO, along with Italy's Virgo in conjunction, will detect at least a dozen gravitational wave collisions in 2017 and begin pinpointing the location of origin. So where are these things, black holes, colliding all around our universe? I think that's going to start happening next year. And synthetic biology, there's a project called Yeast 2.0 that has this goal of creating a synthetic yeast by 2017. I think it's because it has this group has pinpointed it at 2017, they're going to miss their goal. So no synthetic yeast in 2017. Maybe 2018, but not 2017. That's what I'm saying. And I think for astronomy, TWIS is going to travel to Central Oregon to watch the solar eclipse in 2017.
There's going to be a solar eclipse?
Yeah.
Wasn't that in your predictions?
You predicted that. God's going to come.
Go dark during the day. I didn't know there was going to be one. Oh my gosh.
All right,
Nostradamus. All right,
Nostradamus, you. All right, you guys. I don't know what you all in the in the world out there think of our predictions. What are we going to get right? What are we going to get wrong? But it's always fun to kind of look at where things are and kind of take a peek and take a guess and say, oh, what do I think is going to happen? What's going to work and what's not going to work? And I think it's always fun.
I'm going to add one more.
Okay, you can. We're not done yet.
Prediction. I'm going to predict that the gravity waves we found in 2016 will be found to be noise in 2017.
No.
And that the new, more advanced LIGO will have to refute those earlier findings by not finding anything. Sticking to my guns. One more year. Why not? Let's go for it. Roll the dice.
All right.
Says the man who claimed that last year
I did. I switched just because Kiki finally said there weren't going to be any, and I was like, it seems like you got to balance. Now she's saying they're going to find a whole bunch, so I'm back to they're not going to find anything. In fact, they're going to have to take away what they found.
Got to be.
I think we got to roll back the tape. I do. I have to hear it to believe it.
We'll have to figure that one out. Yeah.
The show hasn't been on tape for quite some time.
I'm sorry.
Used to be.
Tape.
Used to be. Not so much
Giant
anymore.
air quotes for the audience.
I predict TWIS will not be on tape this year.
Remember when remember when the podcast was actually a cassette cast and we used to
yes,
recordings of the show on
it was on something called the radio.
It was.
For that, we used to mail them out to listeners.
I never did that.
Little cassettes in an envelope, and then
I never did that.
They'd have to.
I never did that.
Blank cassette.
Never did that.
Fill with another show.
Yeah.
That was in the mid-'80s.
Rewriting history here. That never happened. I'm just here to be a truth sayer. Sorry. You guys, thank you for sticking with us through this show of predictions, prognostications, as Blair would say, prestidigitations. As pop and lock. What?
No, I lost my rabbit.
We're looking forward to many, many great shows with you here in 2017. This is show 600. We've done 600 of these suckers. It is, by the end of this year, we'll have at least 50 more, right? Let's keep it going. 50 more out the door, you guys. Let's make it happen. It's time now for me to mention our calendar again because we have this calendar. 18 of them are left. You can go to twis.org to find out more about the TWIS 2017 Blair's Animal Corner calendar. Additionally, go to facebook.com/thisweekinscience if you are interested in finding out more about our event at California Academy of Sciences Sketchfest Nightlife on January 19th. Shout outs to all of our Patreon sponsors. Thank you to Chris Clark, Paul Disney, G. Burton Lattimore, John Ratnaswamy, Richard Onimus, Byron Lee, E.O., Jared Lysette, Kevin Parachan, Andy Groh, Keith Corsell, Jake Jones, Ulysses Adkins, Derek Nickel, Dave Friedel, James Randall, Eric Schwab, Bob Calder, Mark Mazzaros, Ed Dyer, Trainer 84, Brian Hedrick, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Henry, Don Camarechka, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Tony Steele, Gerald Onyago, Steve DeBell, XV, Daryl Lambert, Haroon Sarang, Melissa Mosley, Alex Wilson, Jason Schneiderman, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Jason Roberts, Richard Porter, Rodney, David Wiley, Robert Aston, Bill Kersey, Ben Rothig, Darwin Hannon, Rudy Garcia, Nick Abassi, Felix Alvarez, Cosmic Gypsy, Brian Hone, Orly Radio, Brian Condren, Pixelfly, Mark, Nathan Greco, Hexator, Deborah Smith, Mitch Neves, Flying Out, John Crocker, Christopher Dreyer, Sylvan Westby, Artyom, Shuwada, Dave Wilkinson, Steve Mishinsky, Rick Ramus, Gary Swinsberg, Phil Nadeau, Braxton Howard, Salgood Sam, Matt Sutter, Emma Grenier, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Kurt Larson, Stefan Insom, Michael George, Russell Jensen, Mountain Sloth, Jim DePoe, John Maloney, Jason Olds, James Pauls West, Alp Doty, Illuma Lama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, Ed Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, David Simmerly, Tyler Harrison, Columbo Ahmed. Thank you all for for your support on Patreon. And thanks to those of you who are new to the list. It's great to read those new names this week. If you're interested in supporting us, you can find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Also, remember, you can help us out just by telling your friends about TWIS. It's that easy. Tell people about TWIS. Send them to the website, send them to the YouTube, wherever. Help them find it. Help us get more listeners. On next week's show, we will be send them a link. There you go.
Mobile type device.
Mobile device. Next week's show, we're going to be broadcasting live online at 8 p.m. Pacific time on twist.org/live. You can watch and join our chat room. Don't worry if you can't make it though, because it's all recorded, and you can find past episodes at twist.com/YouTube or twist.org.
Yes, you can. That is a good place to do that thing. Thank you for enjoying the show. TWIS is, of course, also available as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have one of those, what do we call them again, mobile type devices, you can put in TWIS, the number 4 Droid app in the Android marketplace, or simply This Week in Science in anything Apple marketplacey.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website. That's at www.twist.org.
Huh?
www.twist.org.
One more time. I was writing it down.
www, that stands for World Wide Web, .twist, that stands for This Week in Science, .org, that stands for organization. Yeah. Where you can also make comments, and you can start conversation with the hosts or other listeners.
Hey, or you can contact us directly. Email Kirsten at kirsten@thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twist.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, somewhere in your subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at Jacksonfly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
I predict that we will be back here next week.
Got one more in.
And I also predict that you'll join us for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, I predict you remember.
You messed it all up, Justin. It's all in your head.
I predict that in 2017 there will not be an episode without a technical difficulty.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. This week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just get understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma. Got the eye. 'cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address. From stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. So how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you learned anything from the words that we said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.
So we're in the after show. My child is finally asleep.
Oh my.
Passed out. He's passed out on the couch over there. He's all wrapped up in his comforter cover. He's got the comforter with the comforter cover over it, and he got himself wedged in between all of it in like a sleeping bag.
Why is that child not in bed?
Because his father had to go on a work trip this week, and I didn't have any help putting him to bed. So I tried to put him.
That'll do it.
I tried to put him to bed, and it did not happen.
Yeah, that will do it.
Yeah, I think he was very excited to be in here for a while.
Yeah.
I think he would have preferred to be more of the show, but I told him he wasn't allowed. I was like, no, my show. We'll get you your own show later.
Yeah.
It's my show.
Be the intern for a few years, then we'll talk about it.
You got an intern before you just get to be on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, at least like 3 weeks.
Yeah. When's this eclipse?
It's in the calendar, Blair.
I put it in the calendar.
You put it in the calendar.
When did I
Blair.
put it in the calendar? I put a lot of things in the calendar, Kiki. I don't even know anymore.
August 21st.
Ooh.
Total solar eclipse.
Yeah.
It's right after World Mosquito Day.
Well, I can't go then. I gotta stay in San Francisco to celebrate World Mosquito Day.
August 21st, and it is. I mean, I don't know if there's gonna be camping areas left to go see it in Eastern Oregon, but right a little bit north of Bend is where I want to go.
Great.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm there.
We could do that, or we could go to Idaho, but I think we could go to Idaho too.
Yeah,
a bit further away.
I'm into that.
Bye, Feta. Have a good night. Yeah. Hot Rod's giving me headphone rewiring tips in the chat room on how to get spy headphones. That's right. I just have to, no one would ever notice if there's like a parabolic directional microphone. No. Could be a little tiny microphone, I'm sure. A little tiny microphone would be great.
Rob the Invisible says, come to Salem. It's so boring.
Salem, an hour from here. I just drive right past Salem all the time. I'm sure when the weather gets nice again, I want to go go souther to Tillamook Forest and out to the coast.
Do they make the cheese there?
Yeah, it's the Tillamook area. Yeah, you could come to Oregon and we could go to the cheese factory.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, I think it. Yeah.
Beer
Tillamook.
and cheese. Sign me. Oh, and coffee.
And coffee. Yeah.
And books.
And books.
Oh my God.
It's a great life up here, Blair. You got everything you want.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. It came on too quick for me to mute myself.
Yeah. Dar is saying, how could Salem be boring? The squeaky cheese. That's right. Get the squeaky cheese.
What's squeaky cheese?
Here. Squeaky cheese. Tillamook. Squeaky cheese. Oh, there's a squeaky cheese day? I gotta find out about this. When's
Squeaky cheese day. That should be on our calendar. Sounds like something that I should have put on there.
This is back in, I guess back in 2013 they did a squeaky cheese day. Yeah, so anyway, they're cheese curds. Squeaky cheese curds.
I've actually never eaten cheese curds.
There's a lot of
Isn't that cottage cheese?
No, it's not the same as cottage cheese.
No.
Yeah, the whole cheese curds thing is a little bit weird to me.
I'm very curious.
Yeah. You can fry them. You can also make poutine with them.
Ooh. Never had poutine either.
Yeah, what is that? French? It's French fries with the cheese curd gravy. Poutine.
Mm. So it's usually meaty, right? Isn't that the deal?
No,
Poutine.
It can be meaty. It can also just be cheesy.
Okay.
It's basically like it's meaty. It can be meaty, but it can also just be like cheese fries.
I want that. That sounds great. Cheese fries. I'm into it.
Right, Gord? Blair needs to get poutine. Yeah, it should be a lighter sauce. It's not like cheese fries, it's just like cheese. Yeah.
Right.
Gord knows.
Yeah, it can't have meat in it.
If you don't want to eat the meat. No.
Yeah. I'm saying if I'm going to eat it, it can't have meat in it.
Janiscu has Christmas coffee. I like coffee. Did we get hit with bad weather today? No, we had it wasn't bad. It was cold today. It was not. We had pretty decent weather today otherwise. Just cold.
San Francisco got hit with some real bad weather last night. It was the wind and rain woke me up several times last night, which I am a deep sleeper.
Yeah, we had a lot of wind
and power outages here in Davis.
Yeah,
we had a lot of trees down. My backyard had a bunch of trash in it this morning, which I think it's so weird after a storm to just see pieces of plastic get blown into your backyard. It's a weird wake-up call of like, oh yeah, there's just trash everywhere. It's just everywhere.
This morning I had a work meeting, a breakfast meeting with somebody, and I drove up to northish Portland, North Portland, to go to a little cafe. Get out of my car, the wind's blowing. I see a garbage can roll down the street. I'm like, oh, that's a breeze. There we go. Time to get inside. It's cold today. -40, but that's Celsius, Janiscu. You got to get it on the Fahrenheit scale, because it's not -40 Fahrenheit where you are. It is not. Can't be. No.
I don't know. Wouldn't show.
A poutineery? Oh my goodness. Sorry, I had my back.
Yeah, I need to go to Canada too. That needs to happen.
Oh, Canada.
I predict that in 2017, I'll visit some places I've never been before.
Oh, it's always exciting. A little adventurous.
Yeah.
But they're not the same, Janiscu. Is it?
That's where they're the same.
Is it where they're the same at -40?
That's where that's where they're equal.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Oh, fascinating.
That's the
Cool. Yes. Dar's like, yes, yes, yes. Come to Canada. Where the Sackles cross. Yes. I mean,
What are sackles?
I don't know. That's what Identity 4 said.
Oh, scales.
Scales. The measurement scales.
I know. That's when I tried to write Mobius strip in the chat room. It became Mobs strip.
Mob strip. That's right. You take it. I mistype things all the time.
Yep.
Type too quickly, and then I'm like, oh, I missed that one. I'm a terrible typist.
I hit send way too fast sometimes.
It's 10 above in Anchorage. That's good. How cold are we outside right now? My weather says we are. Oh, at 7:40 p.m. we were 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And right now we are a real feel of 23 degrees with an actual 27 degrees. But we don't have a probability of snow until Saturday.
Oh.
But I think we might get snow on Saturday. This is a lot of snow this season. It's kind of crazy.
So, let's see.
An ice castle. Oh my goodness.
I love when they predict 100% chance of rain.
I want to go to an ice castle. I mean, I don't really. Where do you want to go when it's 100% chance of rain?
Oh, no, I just said I always think it's funny when they predict 100% chance of rain, especially several days in advance, because people that predict the weather, they never want to give 100% of anything because things change so much. To say, yes, we're 100% certain it's going to rain in San Francisco on Sunday means the front is just
huge. It's so
enormous. They literally can't be wrong. And that's 4 days away. And they're sure it's going to rain. That means...
Oh, that's what your prediction, your prediction for this Friday is?
For Sunday.
For Sunday. I wonder if it's a similar front.
It's 100%. Saturday is 99% chance of rain. It's crazy.
Well, and to be fair, the weather forecasters are
futurists.
Short-term futurists. They really are.
Yeah.
Because just as Amy was talking about being in journalism and talking about stuff that had already happened, it's exactly what the nightly news is. Here's something that just happened somewhere today, or maybe yesterday. And then, but the weather guy is like, I'm going to tell you the future. I'm going to tell you not something that already happened. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. And like, even, like if all of the news ran like that, it would be far more interesting. Yeah. Tomorrow, there's going to be a carjacking on the corner of Franklin and right, like fire breaks out in residential home. We called them ahead of time to make sure they weren't going to be there.
Right. 40% chance of burglary in this neighborhood tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, future crime predicting. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, Identity 4 hills are no fun in the snow unless you are ready
going down. Oh.
Yeah, unless you have a sled, right? That it's okay at the bottom, but yeah, seriously. Here in Portland, it's because it doesn't snow that often, but it doesn't even get icy as that often. But when it does, cars can't handle it. They cannot handle it, and cars are just sliding. People are like, "Oh, I can drive in this," and their car's like, "No, you can't. I'm gonna slide you right down this hill."
Just don't even go to work that day.
Yeah, it's a good solution.
-9, Desbom. Oh my goodness. twist from a snow castle. I don't know. Janice Q. I don't know if I could do that. I want to go to an ice castle because I think it would be so amazing to see one. You know, one of those ice hotels or ice.
Yeah, why don't we just go to the ice bar in Vegas and do a
great.
short from there?
Really
that sounds
short,
good.
like 5 seconds.
Or we could do the ice bar. They have an ice bar in a lot in the town on the Red Sea in Israel. I didn't get to go in there, but they give you a winter coat on the way in.
Right.
And then you sit on an ice bench and you get served on an ice bar with an ice glass.
Did you just yeah.
I'll
Hot
have a
Rod
flaming
Hot
lemon
Rod
drop,
is trying to
please.
get Hot Rod's trying to get money out of us to know how to get across into Canada after the wall is built between America and Canada.
Oh.
The tunnel locations. Uh-huh.
Well,
Hot Rod.
can't we just charter a boat?
Right.
We just
Yeah, I think that.
or a plane.
And be a sea
Then they'll call
pirate.
us
Arr.
icebox.
Arr.
People used to think I was Canadian. I could probably just get in on that.
Yeah. Identity 4 down at so he can drive reasonably well on his hill with the car. He's just scared to death of everybody else who can't. And that's exactly
Yeah,
it.
That's it.
They're like, I can make it. This hill's no problem. Nope. You're going to slide down the hill and block it for everybody else, aren't you?
Oh no.
Yeah. We went up a
Rob the
hill
Invisible. I can see you posted something, but I can't tell what it is.
Ha.
because it's invisible.
Says he would totally stay in an igloo. Yeah, I would try that. Totally.
I know someone who
That's
did
a
it. One of my coworkers did an Earthwatch mission in the Arctic, looking at ice cores, and they made an igloo and spent the night in one.
Mhm.
She said it was surprisingly warm, but still cold.
Yeah, I knew somebody who went to Antarctica
Thank you,
as
Doc. TP is better.
a research geologist, and as part of their emergency training, when they first got down there, they had to build a snow cave, like dig their own little snow cave that they could barely get into, and then sleep in it.
Oh my goodness.
I'd just be like, nope, can I go home now?
Yeah.
Hey, Antarctica, you're cool and everything. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna just jump on this piece of ice that's breaking off of you right now and just float on
Just
up to
float.
Argentina. Let's go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was really excited. I kind of wanted to go on that Earthwatch expedition, and then I watched my friend acquire everything that you needed to go to the Arctic, spend
Oh, yeah.
thousands of dollars on equipment for a 3-week trip,
Yeah.
then have to take 4 flights to get to where she was trying to go, and then every day she spent an hour in basically a cart attached to a snowmobile.
I'm like, I'm trying to think.
Zoomobile.
What is the Zoomobile?
I'm woof. A cart
What
attached
is
to a
it?
snowmobile,
Snowmobile.
an open top, just like box that was attached to the snowmobile. They would ride an hour in that to their research site during a blizzard. And then after seeing all that, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah,
If I end
we
up
can
doing a
always
Earthwatch mission, I'm gonna go somewhere tropical.
or you could just, head on up. It's not, you don't have to take 4 flights, I think, to get to Anchorage.
Yeah.
Fly 1 airplane flight,
Yeah.
Anchorage.
Yeah. I think she flew straight to Churchill.
Yeah.
And then she had to take like one other normal commercial flight to get further north. And then she took 1 or 2 like biplane flights to get even further north. It was insane.
Wait, Dar, what is it that you do? You have had a chance to build an igloo and stay in a teepee, and you say teepee is better, which is good to know. Teepee is, by the way, can be extremely warm. You get the fire going in that thing. It's toasty inside. But Dar, what are you doing that you get to do all this cool stuff? Oh, you just live in Canada. Wait, I missed that part. Okay.
I live in Canada. I've built igloos.
That's just normal. Normal living in Canada.
Do you guys predict bedtime in your future?
I do. I predict bedtime in my future. Yeah. I need to put my child to real bed. He's asleep, so he's probably fine, but he's gonna be a little uncomfortable there on that couch. At some point, he's gonna have to get up for school in the morning, and he's gonna be one cranky sucker. Oh, this is gonna be fun, you guys.
I took my girls to see. Oh, I forgot a Star Wars prediction I was gonna do. Star Wars movie, like the Star Wars movie. It's too late to do any predictions now. But if I had thought of it, this is when I was gonna go in that the Star Wars franchise would completely lose track of where it was, jumping back and forth between when something happened in one of their movies, and would totally screw it up in the next one. But we went and saw Rogue One today, which was
cool.
Oh,
yeah,
I've loved Rogue
cool.
One.
It was pretty cool, except the kids got all excited about all these new characters and people, and then they all die.
Yeah,
that was it.
Oh, Kiki, have you seen it?
Nope.
Oh, never mind.
Justin.
I didn't.
Also, all of our viewers, it hasn't been out for that long. You can't be spoiling like that.
He's like, I'm just spoiling it. Spoiler alert.
I just committed a crime. Okay, good night, everybody. Don't listen to the end of the show. Spoiler alert.
I'm looking at pictures of
anyway,
Alaska.
But yeah, my kids are running around with like the lightsaber and the Wii gun and shooting at each other and
great.
Of course they were.
I'm gonna go. I ruined the internet. Good night, everybody.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching our prediction show. It's time for us to head to bed, and at least I hope to predict a very good night's sleep for everyone. And we will be back again next week. Only a couple of weeks till January. We got to figure out. The 19th. Oh, question. The 18th. Can we do an interview that night?
Sure.
And then the science news stuff. The 19th. I don't know if we'll be able to broadcast. I got to work that out with people.
Okay.
I still have to work out for the 19th show.
Yeah, we could
Should we do a regular show on the 18th and then truncated show on the 19th for the live audience that's we're at the Academy?
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of wondering if we should be doing picking our favorite silly stories or our favorite Ig Nobels or stuff like that for Sketchfest.
I don't think we should go back too far.
Yeah,
it was this week in science.
Right, that is true. But looking for things, yes, I guess pretty recent, but from with a certain humorous slant.
Yes.
So I don't know. We could do an abbreviate. We could do a normal show on Wednesday, but more of a tight hour and more of okay, just one or two stories each after the interview, and then have some other ones on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know, Blair. I don't think we should deviate from the hardcore serious nature of the show to infuse any sort of comedic aspect.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't want to lose the core audience.
Well, you best be expecting some invertebrate sex. Because I will find it.
Yeah, I know you will. You'll find it somewhere.
This week in Science on Location, and it's all invertebrate sex for
Blair.
Next hour. Go, Blair.
Here we go. Let's talk it.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna go. Let's figure it all out for the 19th sometime in the next week or so. And everybody out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Don't forget to check out the Minion Hangout if you get a chance. Bye.